So like we said, this week we're talking about the film The Brave Little Toaster, which was a film all of us saw as little tiny babies, right?
Yeah, but barely remembered personally.
Oh no, I am the only one here who revisits it every few years, more so lately, and I find the older I get, it's aging to me like a fine wine. If I liked wine, I don't. It's purple vinegar. You people are garbage.
Now for me, and also Nina, maybe you tell me.
I'll tell my own story.
Okay.
You tell
Yeah,
your
like-
story.
When I was little, I had this on VHS, and by little I mean like 3 goddamn years old, before Nina was born. I know it was before Nina was born because my mom says that when she was pregnant of Nina, I would watch this movie every day. And for the longest time, she associated this movie with the feelings of like the nausea and sickness of pregnancy. So the movie made her sick. She seems to have gotten better about that because we watched it together tonight. And she was fine and remembered it much better than I did, which makes sense because I was 3. But here's the thing: like I saw this movie over 100 fucking times, and I remembered scenes of it pretty vividly, but I couldn't tell you how any of them connected. And like watching it again, I did not remember any of that connective tissue. I didn't remember a lot of the there were like bits of dialogue that I kind of never picked up on that were important to the story.
I didn't even remember there were songs.
Yeah, I was wondering that. I was like, are they gonna remember it's a musical? Because it takes a second to kick in, and they're probably gonna.
There are 4 songs. They're actually really good songs.
They're really
They're
good.
fucking
They're
baller.
very
I mean,
good. Well,
one of
Tutti
them is-
Frutti is also in there, but
Yeah, which is also great. Like, don't even start.
I did not even remember there were songs.
Yeah, like when they sing the first original song, I'm like, holy crap, I haven't thought about this in 20 years. I know exactly what all these notes are going to be, but it really did feel like watching it for as close to the first time as I could ever, like, if you know what I mean? It's the closest to like a
totally.
second first impression anybody
I
could
feel like
ever
it was
get.
even more so for me because my impressions of the film are even like
Babyer.
Because like I
Your
don't
first
even,
impressions were in utero.
I don't even remember when I saw this movie. Maybe I saw it one time. I don't know. But all I could tell you that I remembered was that there was an evil clown with fire. There was a part where the vacuum cleaner ran over his cord and it was really scary. All the scary parts. That's all I
Yeah,
remember.
that's actually what I remember too. Like, I remembered those two. I remembered the air conditioner who got so mad that he died.
Yeah.
The cars singing about how they're going to die.
I remember the cars vaguely, and I remember the master and how he kind of looked funny to me, and Blanky, because Blanky was super cute and my favorite, and is still my favorite.
You know why? Because Blanky is basically the Piglet of this movie, and Piglet's your favorite. Well,
I like Piglet a lot too.
yeah. I was gonna say Piglet's your favorite, but Rabbit's your favorite.
Yeah. Well, Piglet was my favorite when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that
when
makes
I was
sense.
a kid, I also had a Blanky, so like I really connected with Blanky. But yeah, I had like, watching this movie, I was like, what? It was so bizarre because I had just the faintest outline of what was going to happen, and nothing else.
Like that scene with the fucking woodland creatures, I'm like, this was from this movie? That singing fish was from Brave Little Toaster?
That's the scene I always forget. Like, even watching it today, I forgot that part.
Well,
because it's just, I feel like it's filler.
Oh, it absolutely
it
is.
serves no purpose.
Except for the lead up to that flower scene, which I think is horrendously necessary.
No, the flower scene's very important.
Oh, one thing that I kind of want to come back to every once in a while during this episode, and I kind of alluded to it when talking about Piglet, but in our episode about Pooh's Grand Adventure, Search for Christopher Robin, Tooch never saw it as a kid, so he wasn't like super impressed. Like, he liked it okay, but one thing I remember you saying is that with kids movies of these kind of dark themes, you would prefer Brave Little Toaster.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely your opinion, and I having revisited both of them in the span of like the last 6 months, would still go with Winnie the Pooh. I feel like Winnie the Pooh was a tighter movie. I mean, there was absolutely chaff to it, but I feel like this was a bit chaffier.
define Jeff?
Filler.
Oh, well, yeah, no, totally, I agree.
Yeah.
This movie can like meander at because like you said, like remembering it from childhood, you just remember all the scenes, and like the connective tissue is sometimes barely there. Sometimes they just like roll into a whole new section
they roll
of the
into
story.
they're in some kind of creepy swamp.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and one other movie I'd like to compare this to is that this movie is basically Toy Story.
Yes.
Well, that's interesting because
Joe Ranft.
a lot of the people the original members of Pixar were involved in this film. John Lasseter.
Most prominently, Joe Ranft was the head writer, and he was a story supervisor for Toy Story 1.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the same basic theme. It's, the idea of abandonment and people and like growing up and leaving behind elements of childhood told through the eyes of inanimate objects. It really, they're extremely similar movies. And actually, again, themes of abandonment, again, it's like Pooh's Grand Adventure.
Yeah. The interesting thing about Brave Little Toaster is it's actually based on a book. It's a 1980 novella by Thomas Disch, D-I-S-C-H. It's called A Bedtime for Small Appliances, or The Brave Little Toaster, A Bedtime Story for Small Appliances. And it was actually pretty interesting because the book was originally published in the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, and like those kinds of like magazines. So before it was actually published as like a book, the author sold the license for it to be a movie.
Huh.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah, it appeared in that magazine, and the story was originally very similar in the sense that people were like, I don't really know if it's for kids. It seems to be more for adults, but it's not bad for kids. Yeah, like he's actually the only way he was able to get it a 5-book contract was after he sold it to Disney, and then the book companies were like, okay, I guess we can publish this book because Disney says it's good. And yeah, the Disney movie came out only 7 years after the story was written, which is pretty interesting. So, and the sequels, which we're not going to talk about the sequels, but one of them, The Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars, was actually based on the sequel that the author wrote with the same title. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you think they made that shit up? They didn't. That was in the books.
Yeah.
It's canon that toast machine reached another planet before SpaceX. I believe in the film, at least, I believe they got in a hamper and attached Mr. Ceiling Fan to the hamper, and then they just flew with a ceiling fan.
They helicoptered into space with a ceiling fan.
So this film has a really interesting like production history, and I guess because this film is very historical in the fact that it was sort of the beginning of a lot of people's careers, so there's been a lot of stuff written about it, and because it's such a fascinating film that sort of slipped through the cracks.
Its original release was limited, but it became huge on home video because,
Yeah, they were actually promised a theatrical release, but never really got it. They actually never got a theatrical release. They toured film festivals, and they got it on the Disney Channel, but that was it. And like that caused John Lasseter to like just leave the project. He was really pissed about that, and a lot of people obviously were really pissed about that because they were promised a theatrical release, but they didn't get it. The Sundance Film Festival in '88. It made history. It was the first animated film ever exhibited at Sundance.
Wow.
And it remained the only one until 2001. According to Jerry Reese, the director, claimed he was told by some of the judges that they considered Toaster the best film, but they could not give the award to a cartoon, as they considered people would not take the festival seriously afterwards. So yeah,
Garbage.
apparently, according to the director, 1988 Sundance Film Festival, The Brave Little Toaster was the best movie there.
Yeah, I mean, this really is a groundbreaking movie.
It was difficult because a lot of people didn't watch it because it wasn't released in theaters. You know, the only way people saw it was it premiered on the Disney Channel February 27th, 1988. And then they sort of like peddled it around some various other art festivals. And then, you know, they released it on home video, and that was that, you know. And even like the first few copies of the home video were kind of like wobbly in certain parts. Like it wasn't super high quality. Because the film had a very small budget. I think it had like maybe like 2 million tops.
It was 2.3 million, and it has an estimated box office take of 2.3 million. So they broke even.
Which is miraculous.
Yeah.
That even happened. And like a lot of things about this film are pretty neat because it wasn't produced by Disney. It was produced by Hyperion Animation along with the Kushner Lock Company. Even though it says Disney on the front, Disney distributed. Disney did not animate this film.
No, they just sold it to people and skimmed a chunk off the top.
And the origins is that John Lasseter and Glenn Keane had finished a short 2D, 3D test film based on the book Where the Wild Things Are. And they decided, and Lasseter and a producer, Thomas Wilhite, W-I-L-H-I-T-E? Wilty?
Let's go with Wilty.
Wilty decided they wanted to make an entire feature with this method of integrating 2D and 3D at this time, which was like 82, 80 something, 83, 85. And The Brave Little Toaster was actually the first CGI film John Lasseter ever pitched. But obviously it was rejected because, of the cost of having both traditional and expensive computer generated backgrounds. But they were later transferred to Hyperion Pictures, and somehow, one way or another, they got it to be made just with a very low budget and outside of Disney proper. But that turned out to be pretty good for them because it gave them a lot of freedom with what they wanted to do, writing-wise and content-wise. Because if you look at this film, this is not a film Disney would write.
Nah.
At all.
Nah.
Jerry Reese, the director, he was a crew member on 2 previous Disney films, including The Fox and the Hound, which is another childhood favorite of Nicky's when he was a very small boy.
Uh-huh.
And also Tron.
Oh.
And co-writer of the screenplay along with Joe Rand. It's very interesting, this whole project, because there's a lot of really cool people working on, a lot of people who went on to have really interesting careers. Even the voices. The recording session didn't even take place on Disney. They were sort of like totally isolated for a long time, but all the voices came from the Groundlings improvisational group.
Oh.
Yeah, they provided pretty much all the voices for this. So it was like a very different feel, and they wanted much more natural sounding performances, nothing too cartoony, and that's what they got. They got a lot of cool impressions.
Phil Hartman is in this movie.
Yeah. And Thurl Ravenscroft, who played Kirby, was known as Tony the Tiger and also the singing voice for the Grinch, for that original The Grinch animated short. He worked on that.
Yeah, that's insane. And also John Lovitz, who went on to be very famous on SNL, was the radio.
Yeah, there was a lot of, I think, the 2 SNL guys.
John Lovitz.
Yeah, so a lot of the things about this movie were done very unconventionally. And it definitely shows.
Yeah, an unconventional product.
And the Blanky was voiced by a literal 8-year-old child. Which you can kind of tell.
I gotta be honest, it was giving me Catbug vibes.
Aw, but I love Blanky.
No, Blanky's good. Although, his cry was insufferable.
That's the point.
My mom really liked
it. It it was exactly the same, and like it's not a real cry, it's its own beast, and it like I never liked it even as a kid. I'm like, shut the blanket up. It's weird.
It's like a fake cry. It's like a wah.
Yeah, but it's like, like kudos for the kid for selling it. Like it's great. It's a great performance, but it always just like annoyed me.
On Mindy Sterling, the voice of Lin Beifong was Rob's mother.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow, neat.
Yeah. Also, while we were talking, I was looking at the wiki pages for the sequels, and I want to read out some of the actors who were actually in Goes to Mars. Carol Channing, Farrah Fawcett who played a faucet.
Yep, I remember reading about that.
Wayne Knight, and probably most insanely, DeForest Kelly in the final role before his death.
Oh no.
What?
Yeah. Nobody like crazy was into the rescue. Farrah Fawcett as a faucet. No kid's gonna get that joke.
No, well, there's a lot of jokes, even in this first movie, that no kid was gonna get. No wonder it made no sense to me as a child.
One joke that I caught for the very first time in my life through multiple viewings, I only caught it now, was like when they're in that fat dude's appliance store and he's mixing up the whatever in the blender. I never really read what it was in the blender. He's making like an energy weight loss drink, and then immediately after he grabs a fistful of marshmallows.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the record, this movie hasn't been distributed like since VHS, I don't think. You can find it on YouTube.
No, there was a DVD. Though, no, it's very complicated because there was different distribution for different countries. And, like, there was a ton of different versions of this film.
Oh, boy.
And a lot of them are super sketchy.
Yeah. There was a Laserdisc release, apparently.
Ooh.
Everything's better on a Laserdisc. Yeah, you can find it on YouTube, which is how we all watch it. Several people have uploaded the whole movie. You can find it in other languages. I saw on the sidebar a link for La Tostera Valiente.
It's interesting because the genders changed a lot in the different languages. Because apparently Lampy was a girl in most of the other dubs in different languages.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder why.
That one I wouldn't have guessed, because, I mean, Toaster was played by a woman, Deanna Oliver.
And in an interview, she actually called Toaster she and her, so I think Toaster was originally not supposed to have a gender, but then, like, later in the movie they gave Toaster one.
Yeah.
So it's been sort of up in the air.
It was like 20 years before BMO. Let's give
Yeah.
him some credit. I'm now at a point where, like, I'm done with gendered robots, except for Astro Boy and Mega Man. Like, I'm done. I'm living a post-BMO world.
Because one thing that was, they tried to do with the characters that I thought was kind of cute is that they sort of, made them their opposites in a way. Like, Blanky is a security blanket, but is super insecure. Lampy is not very smart, even though he's supposed to be bright because he's a lamp. Vacuum is supposed to hold everything inside, but he has like a nervous breakdown. And then, Toaster is warm and reflective, so he can empathize. And Radio is constantly switched on and entertaining.
Well, he's a device that's supposed to distribute information, and he just lies constantly.
Yeah. Wasn't he your favorite as a kid?
I don't remember, because, like, I can't imagine I understood a thing he said as a kid.
Yeah, but I thought he probably just made you laugh. I don't know. You liked
Yeah, I liked him.
I mean, at the very least, I would have liked it when he, like, whacked everybody with his antenna. But, like, his dialogue is, like, not easy for a kid to catch up on. Because, like, he's talking about fucking Teddy Roosevelt every 30 minutes. Like, he talked about, Lampy getting the Purple Heart. And, like, the kid doesn't know what a Purple Heart is. I didn't. So, yeah.
That joke about Lyndon B. Johnson's wife? Or was it Roosevelt's? I don't remember. I think it was Roosevelt's wife.
Yeah.
It's like, we love you! Yeah, we love you just as much as Roosevelt's wife loved him. which I guess was a reference to the fact they had an open marriage.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very not a kid joke.
Yeah.
It's John Lovitz. He probably improv'd it.
Yeah. And then Phil Hartman's in there doing impressions of Jack Nicholson and Peter Lorre. No kid's gonna get
so
that.
good. I mean, I got it because literally every other Looney Tune has a Peter Lorre joke in it. So.
That's true. That's true.
Also, Ren is a walking Peter Lorre joke of Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, like I didn't know the guy's name, but I'd seen that character before. But
Yeah,
Jack
there
Nicholson,
are
I hadn't.
Yeah. For the longest time, I didn't know Peter Lorre was a real person. I just thought he was like a cartoon trope that just carried.
Yeah, I didn't know he was a real person either.
But then I saw Casablanca and I was like, oh, it's him. You wouldn't do that to me, Rick. We're friends. I don't fucking know.
And this film has a pretty impressive legacy. Like, co-writer Joe Ranfit, he became a script supervisor at Pixar, while animators Kirk Wise and Kevin Lima went on to co-direct films like Beauty and the Beast and Tarzan. Effects animator Mark Dindale directed Disney's The Emperor's New Groove and Chicken Little, as well as Cats Don't Dance for Warner Brothers.
Ooh.
There's another one of those like deep cut movies that like that lived its entire life on VHS that I'd like to talk about sometime.
Yes, Cats Don't Dance. I love it.
Totally.
Yeah, Joe Ranft also voiced like bit characters in every Pixar movie made during his lifetime. He was Jacques the Shrimp in Finding Nemo. He was I'm looking at him right now. He was Lenny the Binoculars in Toy Story.
Oh, Lenny.
He was Wheezy in Toy Story 2. He was the guy in Monsters Inc. who the like scary alligator guy who thought that the kid almost touched him. He had the nervous breakdown on the floor.
Oh yeah, and then his partner slapped him and was like,
"Keep it together, man." Yeah, that guy.
I remember that guy. So yeah, back to this film. So this film has gained quite a cult following, mainly because of its sort of mature themes and how it's sort of a darker kind of kids movie, not in an inappropriate way, but in sort of a way you don't see very often at all, and that it doesn't really pull any punches, and is very honest about the tragedy and the pain and the sad things that happen in the story, which is most of the story. Let's be fair.
Yeah. The themes of abandonment and everything, I feel like that this movie did that more viscerally than Toy Story 1, but like can't touch Toy Story 2.
Or at least that one part. Or
Yeah.
Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of scenes in this movie that have that reaction for, I guess, kids who watched it at an age where they would remember it more than when we did.
Yeah, I guess
There's
like
a lot of
at
very
age 5.
heartbreaking things that happen in this movie.
Yeah. And scary stuff.
So scary.
And like that famous clown scene, that scene is actually kind of fillery. Like it doesn't serve.
It establishes Toaster's phobia.
It shows Toaster's anxieties and phobias.
Yeah. God, I forgot how scary that clown was. The scariest part is just when he's like, run.
Yeah, and like he doesn't open his mouth, he just seethes it through his teeth and smoke comes out from between his jacked up teeth.
Yeah.
And then like everyone remembers like that one part, but the whole nightmare just stacks on more and more horrifying shit. You know, first it's the water, and because he's an electrical appliance, but then the water turns into forks.
Which is also bad for Toasters.
So it's like it didn't even need to do that, but it just did. And then and then he's dangling over a bathtub, and it's like that's not why that's supposed to be bad. That's not for the toaster. I mean, obviously it's bad for the toaster, but generally that imagery is a lot worse for other reasons.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the bathtub thing.
Yeah, because he was plugged in and dangling over the bathtub while the clown was like laughing off screen.
That and like the scene that caught me most this time was the quicksand.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just because like literally like I was barely paying attention because I've seen this movie a million times, but like the scene that caught me, and I remembered it, but only now did it really strike me when Blanket just goes, "I'm not scared."
Yeah.
Oh,
And I'm like,
yeah.
what? Don't say that! Oh my god, you're dead.
Blakey, you're scared of everything.
Not of death.
Okay.
Not of the sweet release of death. Yeah,
But like
this
that
is-
Worthless song, the Cars one's the final number in the movie.
that is such. Oh, that's so
That's
good.
so heavy. And like even
Yeah.
on this most recent viewing, I missed a lot of the lyrics because it's not, I guess, super clear.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's muddled.
Yeah.
You're worthless.
Yeah, you can tell this movie was made in the 80s because it has that sort of good 80s music aesthetic going on.
Except for when they made the, like, I almost want to say they made it annoying on purpose, the fucking Cutting Edge song with with the overload of synth shit.
Well, that was really funny because it was like a commentary on like the times with like just mindless consumerism with these fucking useless ass technology things. Which
That's,
is
like,
funny
horrendous,
now
like,
because they're all outdated anyway.
Yeah, it's that, like, I
More
feel
so
like
than the actual characters.
this might be giving them too much credit, but it's like, it would be so good if someone was like, you know, the more this movie ages, the more and more these characters are just gonna look more and more stupider for claiming to be on the cutting edge. Like, it's just, the joke and the point of it gets better the older the movie gets.
Some of those I couldn't even tell what they are. I'm like, oh fuck, it's like an Apple II.
Yeah. And like,
Because the computers haven't
fucking-
looked like that since like 1987. 1988, they made real computers. Like the movie took, and like that whole like black and white checkerboard like aesthetic. That was a very short-lived thing, but that was so trendy for a second.
I don't know. I feel like it's still
God,
sort of
this movie.
effective because
Love it.
it you know, it's just trying to say that, oh, we're the hip thing, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's kind of neat that over time this scene has more meaning than when it originally did because those electronics are outdated.
Yeah.
I'm just reading the lyrics to Worthless, and yeah, like that song is crazy. Like I'm reading the thing right now. It's like compared to, it's like on the same par as Hellfire, and I wouldn't go that far in terms of like dark Disney songs.
Yeah, Hellfire is
Hellfire is another like 2 tiers above this.
Yeah, Hellfire's like just super like super big and obvious and in your face and blunt about it.
This one is sort of a sucker punch though,
Yeah.
because even though it's the last song in the movie, it's so weird and so dark. Because like these are cars singing about how shitty they are right as they're murdered.
Yeah, and then like their parts go flying everywhere and like cover Toaster and everyone.
Yeah, they're like literally killed on
That is
screen.
gore to them.
Yeah, they're killed on, and like, the same thing with like in the workshop, like that
Yeah,
that
the
was
scene-
shot like a horror movie.
Yeah, the scene where I love that.
That's my favorite song.
I love that little part where he rips off the cord for the blender, and then our buddies all just like reel in their cord and try to hide it. Like that's such a good little touch.
Yeah, I never
Especially
noticed
for a
that
film
before.
that has so little budget, but they like put the little effort in to do that bit, and it makes such a difference.
They put everything where it counts.
Was the B movie song like a Rocky Horror type of thing? I haven't seen that movie.
It was just like it was just like, you know, like B movie horror movies and stuff like the Frankenstein, all the old cheesy horror movies, you know, like the Peter Lorre stuff, the Vincent Price stuff, the Bela Lugosi stuff, the whoever Frankenstein was. Shit, I forget.
It was just sort of a send off because that whole scene was supposed to be like a horror show
Yeah.
for them because it's like these mangled
Mutilation.
bodies. I really like that beginning song a lot. I don't know, there's something about the tune of it that I really enjoyed, even though
Yeah.
I can't sing it right now. But like,
Yeah, no, it's that. See, that song stuck with me the least. Every time I watch it, I have to remember how it goes. But the other songs, I love and I remember.
Yeah, it's a song that it, like I did not remember it at all. Like I didn't even remember it existed. I remembered the B movie song existed. I remembered the Appliance song, and I remembered Worthless. I forgot this song existed, but as they were saying, I'm like, I remember every note of this.
but like Tooch earlier mentioned that flower scene, so let's talk about the.
Let's talk
flower
about that.
scene. Because in the beginning of the movie, it's kind of apparent that they all kind of don't like each other very much. Like, they all sort of just put up with each other for the most part. I mean, like, Toaster's a little bit more friendlier than the others, but even so, he's still just kind of like trying to make the most of it. And through this journey, they become friends. Like, they learn to become a family and like each other.
Yeah, which is something I didn't catch until this most recent view, because again, I haven't seen it since I was very little, and I guess I kind of assumed they were all friends. I guess coming from some kind of Winnie the Pooh mentality.
Yeah, no, they bickered a lot, and they didn't really get along, and like, and the flower is sort of what starts this development of them caring for each other, and it starts with Toaster and Blanky, because the flower, if you notice, you know, rubbing off from last week's episode, is the same color as Blanky. So it's it's like a little metaphor for Blanky's feelings and how the flower sees its reflection in Toaster and like tries to embrace it and reach out to Toaster, but Toaster like pushes it away, and it's like, no, you know, I'm not a flower. And the thing dies. It's so heartbroken that it dies. And when Toaster sees this, he's like, oh, maybe I should be nicer to Blanky.
So he doesn't die.
So he doesn't die, because this kind of person just needs affection, and I need to give it to them because it makes me
I like
feel
how,
better.
yeah, I like how the lamp doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Like, Toaster's like, maybe I just figured I should be nice to him. What? Why?
Like, you weren't
Why
nice
would
to
you
him
do that?
before. Why now?
The lamp is so weird, because, like, like, if you had to attach human ages to them, I can never decide how old Lamp would be, because sometimes he's extremely childish, but he doesn't have a child voice, so it's weird.
Well, part of the lamp is that he's bright but dim. Ha ha ha. And like, we sort of gather he absorbs his knowledge through what the master studied, because like at the end when he was talking about college, he was like, oh, that sounds like fun, I'm gonna learn a lot of new stuff, because the master would like read his books under the lamplight, and that's how Lampy learned stuff. So I guess because they'd been abandoned for so long,
he got dumb.
He got super dumb.
Oh man, that is neat though. Yeah. I think this watch through I liked Lamp a lot.
Yeah,
it's especially badass when he fucking got struck by lightning.
Yeah.
It turns out the evil clown was voiced by Jim Cummings.
Of course. Who else?
No.
So that was voiced by the same guy as Winnie the Pooh.
Nope.
No, it wasn't, Nikki.
Oh.
You're lying to me.
Oh,
lying
bother.
Forever.
How do you guys? What do you guys think of the character design in this movie? Because I think some of it really works and some of it doesn't. Like, Kirby looks great, but there's times when I'm like, this is like them trying to putting like an anthropomorphic face on it that doesn't totally work that well. Like, kind of felt that way about Lampy. I don't know.
I liked Lampy. I liked that, like, in the beginning, in the dancing scene, that he just sort of, like, turned his chords into vague arm shapes.
Yeah, I always like when his cord was like an arm.
Yeah, that was a neat touch.
Yeah, he was the only one to do that because he doesn't have arms. Or I guess Kirby did that a bit.
Kind of. It was like a weird limb.
Yeah.
I think Kirby just didn't really limb emote much. He just sort of like, to his character, he just sort of sat there and went, this is bullshit.
Yeah, and he had a very expressive face that helped.
Oh yeah, totally.
Which the other ones didn't have to the same extent. And like, there's that one Blanky like fantasy scene where he's running towards the master in the beginning. Blanky's face is terrible in that.
Yes, yeah, and he's terrifying.
But like, as a kid, like, I never understood what the heck Blanky's face was, but like, when I grew up, I was like, oh, he's an electric blanket, and that's the little electronic knob on that turns it on and off.
Also, as a kid, I mean, I guess because I was a kid and child-sized things are bigger to children, but like, I just looked at Blanky and went, what the fuck's that blanket gonna cover? He's like the size of a large dinner napkin.
Except when he's not. Except when he's huge.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like the cartoon rules, stretchy stuff.
That's why I liked him, because he was like this stretchy, soft blob.
Maybe he just kept himself folded up a lot. I don't know.
Maybe.
But yeah, but like even like, but he's clearly like, I don't know. Like, even at his biggest, he didn't seem that big. Like, what does the Master want that tiny electric children's blanket for?
Dude, electric blankets are awesome.
Oh yeah, I know, but like, you can't like
Even if it's small, you tuck it in with the rest of the stuff.
I
Your
guess.
regular, I don't know, man. Blankies are rad. I'm on team blankies. Like, everyone should have a blankie.
Hashtag Team Blankie.
Hashtag team blankie. No matter how big or small, everyone needs a blankie. That's my decree.
Have
That's
we
my
remembered to put
recommendation.
any of these hashtags in the show notes?
Absolutely not.
I've been putting Eat the Boomers.
Oh, good. That's the most important one.
Toaster's design, I feel like his eyes were way too human, and I know why they did it to make him, because he's the main character, but it was just kind of weird why his eyes were randomly, like, big and brown, like a puppy's.
One thing I remembered is like the scene where Kirby runs over his cord always stuck with me as a kid. I remember vacuuming as a young person, like always being super scared of doing that because bad
Yeah, me
things would
too.
happen. But I didn't realize that like it was very spontaneous and like nothing set it off.
Well, no, he was afraid of the water.
Yeah, I guess.
He essentially had what was like some kind of epileptic fit because
Yeah.
like they were like, oh, don't let him swallow his cord, like his tongue.
Yeah,
he was gonna choke
exactly.
on his tongue. And they had to calm him down. But like, yeah, he was terrified of the water because they're electronics. But yeah, it wasn't like they never like outright said it, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I thought there was more lead up to that, but it was really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, some stuff like that. That's a few parts in this movie where stuff just suddenly happens. I think at least, but that's one of them. It's usually with the more subtle stuff that you miss as a kid, anyway.
Anything else? Or do you want to make this one sort of a shorter one?
The master's girlfriend is super hot.
Yeah.
I mean,
feel-
that was a very like late 80s, 90s look, but I can dig it.
I mean, if I saw somebody who looked exactly like her wearing that outfit, I'd be like, right the fuck on.
Like, I remember as a kid thinking that he was, like, an adult, not going to college. But, like, I don't know. I guess as a kid,
He drove a
college.
he drove a car. He was a grown up.
Yeah, as a kid, 18-year-olds were adults.
And because they were, like, dating and they seemed to be, like, really...
She's even watching this now. I'm like, okay, I can buy that he's 18, but I don't know. She seems older. I don't know why.
Yeah, they just seem sort of... And, like, the way they interact with each other, they don't act like young people in love. They act like...
They act like they're fucking married.
Yeah, they act like they've been with each other forever. You know, I think that has something to do with it.
Yeah. But like he also had like his mom being super doting in there, so like as a kid that's kind of dissonant. To see
guess.
to
But I
see
feel like-
an adult, you know, with a mom treating him like a kid, as a kid, you're not really equipped for that. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, it
I
didn't
don't know,
even
well,
register.
I was raised by my grandmother, who was still raising like all my younger aunts and uncles at the time. Well, not younger than me, but younger than my mom. So I didn't feel that. My grandmother still fucking dotes on her children.
Yeah. That's right.
I don't know. I didn't even remember that he had a mom. I thought he was just independent. Like...
Strong, independent master.
But I did notice that the animation quality definitely dropped with the humans versus the
Humans are harder.
appliances.
Yeah.
You can make it, dude. I like how squishy all the appliances were. Like even when they pretended to be real or pretended to be not alive and animate, and like he put radio in the vice and it just kept turning it, and he just squished.
He squished,
Like
yeah.
he's a.
Also thinking how it's really interesting that they did an anthropomorphized radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, radio is kind of neat because he didn't have a face.
Yeah. I feel like that equates to like the TV didn't, like the TV was a person on the TV and the radio was a voice on the radio. So I don't know, that's how I interpret that.
Yeah, maybe.
But that also like that always bothered me. I'm like, well, why is that specific guy the TV, and when you change the channel he goes away? Why does he not have full control over where he appears on the TV? If he can just make up TV shows, is that a real actor? Is he mimicking? Does he just like the way that one guy looked on the TV? TV shatters the entire universe of the Brave Little Toaster. That one character ruins it all.
I mean, mean, there are some things that when you think about it, you're like, either they didn't think about it, like it was a misstep on their part, or it's like, oh, actually,
They didn't care.
But like the refrigerator is what comes to mind because
It didn't have a face. It was just a fridge
well,
that was walking
the
around.
fridge in the beginning of the movie, when that was one of Lampy's ideas, it
Oh,
was just a
right.
fridge. It didn't walk. But then
Maybe
they
it
meet
just didn't
another
have much to
refrigerator
say.
that could walk. So I'm like, was that fridge like dead? Like,
Maybe.
was it just like a corpse they were gonna walk?
I thought maybe they just fucking tauntauned it.
I don't.
Just fucking gutted it to stay inside.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, you just have to let that one go.
Yeah, but one thing that always like sort of suspended my disbelief, even as a kid, was like why this guy was so attached to these appliances, because
Yeah.
you don't really think of appliances with affection as much as like toys, you know?
Yeah, it didn't have the same like relatable heart that Toy Story did. Like nobody got fucked up as a kid by Brave Little Toaster, like in as like in terms of like how you treat your material possessions. The way that Toy Story fucked me up, and like I'm really hesitant to throw out like objects that I own because
I feel like if
I
more toasters actually looked like the Brave Little Toaster, then I might have attached to a toaster. I kind of always wanted one.
I mean, I think that's why I like Blanky, because like you can understand being attached to a Blanky and like, but like a toaster, a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, the vacuum is the
Well, maybe
biggest
a
one, I think.
lamp, because like a good lamp is a good lamp, but like a vacuum cleaner, especially an old fucking vacuum cleaner where you have to like
He's gonna lug that up to his dorm room.
yeah, and like you have to like
He's never
empty
gonna
the
use
bag
it.
outside.
Yeah,
He's
it's a dorm room. It's like a fucking foot. It's like a square foot of space.
and he's a freshman boy, so he's not gonna vacuum. Yeah, so yeah, there's stuff that falls apart under scrutiny, which I mean, you can say that about like any movie, really,
Yeah.
Totally.
depending on how much of a pain in the dick you want to be.
I mean, I think it just kind of goes to show like how such a sort of original idea it was, even for the children's story, because it's like, who in the world would think that your appliances would miss you? But like that's sort of part of the theme, and that like they're appliances, so they get joy and happiness from being useful and helping people and being used. And so the worst thing that can happen is if they're not being used, which I mean is a very relatable thing for a human to connect to, is feeling worthless, like in the song, like you're not needed. And I guess an appliance is like sort of this base thing that essentially exists only to be used, and that's it.
Okay, here's a thought.
Okay.
Okay, so the master, because I've never in my life learned his real name.
Rob.
Rob, really?
Yep, Rob.
So the master, he's in the dump picking through the garbage, and this pisses off the magnet, so he attempts to murder this man. But this is a large dump that's been in operation for probably decades. With how much it's amassed, he's probably not the first dumpster diver to come meandering around. What is this magnet's body count? I want to know.
Yeah, the magnet was oddly devoted to its job, to the point where the appliances running away pissed it off. And it's like, you have like tons of garbage, you could just get that other shit.
No, it's mine. It's my dump. It's me. I don't have a mouth. I don't get to talk, so I get to indiscriminately decide who lives and who dies.
I bet that if he supercharged his magnet like he did in the movie, he could, and swung near like the edge of the dump, he might be able to pull cars off the street with people in them.
I'm sure he thought about it.
And a chompy guy.
Well, that wasn't
Like-
really alive, was it?
I
don't know.
I think it was supposed to be, but they just didn't have it do anything.
Oh yeah, I
It was
remember
there.
the way that scene cut back and forth between the song and the TV trying to convince him to go to the junkyard. Like, I always found that really tense as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's very tense.
Because you're seeing like the guy who can save him in a state of inaction, while every time it cuts back, you see how they're gonna almost die,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good bit.
and then it's returned by it returns the favor by the master almost dying.
I know, and like that's terrifying.
Oh my god, I just now remembered how just visceral Toaster's almost death is
Yeah.
in the fucking
Yeah.
gears.
Yeah,
Oh, and they show it. They show it multiple times.
yeah, like this is our main character with his big, bright, brown eyes, and his
Just-
body is just being crunched.
And like he stares at that for like a good minute, like deciding that he's about to do this, and you're like, oh my god.
Well, the reason why they
I
did
love it.
that is because that part wasn't in the books, but the writer said that they wanted to give a reason for the brave little toaster to be called the brave little toaster, so they wanted him to do something very brave.
Up until now, he's just been the mildly confident Toaster, the optimistic Toaster.
Yeah, he was the optimistic little toaster. Yeah. That was a good move, and like again, that's dark shit. He basically his goal there was to sacrifice his life for the master. He didn't think he was going to get fixed, and he's only fixed because they were doing like the Don Bluth thing, where it's like as long as everybody's happy in the end, the kids are going to be okay. But like the toaster committed suicide. Everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's no way that stupid kid could fix a toaster. Like, that toaster was busted. You can't fix that. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just going to
like, he
hammer out the
probably-
dents. It's all dents.
Yeah, he just wanged it with a hammer for 10 minutes,
no.
and it worked.
He was broken as fuck.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, a toaster, it's not made up of that many parts, so it's like, and they're all busted on the inside, probably. Basically, he replaced all of Toaster's innards and repatched up the outer shell. It's like that philosophical question, like if you replace all the parts of a car, is it still your car? Or like if you were to replace, like get like organ and body part transplants until you had replaced each of your parts, are you still you?
They made a Futurama episode about it. I think.
Did they?
Yeah. The answer was just take all the parts you replaced and put them back together. It was a $6 million mon.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so there were then two Hermes. There was just, they put back together all Hermes' biological parts, and then there was the robot that he became.
Great.
So that's the answer.
Because in the original book, they actually didn't meet up with the master. They, like, donated themselves to someone else. Like, I think she was a ballerina or someone. They found somebody else to be their new master.
Huh. Interesting. I'm not sure that's better or worse, it's just different.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just different.
And then, of course, they release the sequels out of order.
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, I guess no. I guess maybe they didn't expect to do both of them, so they were like, let's just do the one with the most pizzazz. Send them to fucking space.
They were released a year after each other. I bet they were developed in tandem and they just finished one first. And it's like,
Maybe,
put it
yeah,
out,
that
fuck
makes
it.
more sense.
They're kids, they don't care.
Nobody. What the fuck's even a novella? What is that? Isn't that like an almond spread?
You're better than that, Tooch.
No, I'm not.
Well, and they were much later because the film
It was 10 years later.
was 10. Yeah, they were 10 years later, so it was
Yeah.
really just a cash in.
So thankfully, I was old enough to realize how not to watch those.
Unfortunately, those were the only ones I ever saw on TV.
Yeah, and those are on Netflix and iTunes, and
But not the first one.
it's like the Ghostbusters problem. That was the problem for a long time, but luckily not anymore.
Oh god, Blanky is terrifying. in the original book cover.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're all kind of creepy.
Well,
No, Toaster's cute.
But Blanky is like, oh.
Run.
No, please stop. I have to go to sleep soon.
And speaking of which, let's move on to recaps.